There is this massive misconception in crypto. Most people believe that if you're buying altcoins, that you should be outperforming Bitcoin during very positive times, during bullish times, right? When Bitcoin is going up, then the altcoins should go up much, much more. And of course, when Bitcoin is going down, the altcoins also get hammered more. But in general, it's simply just more risk exposure, right? If we get more risk, we should get more return. And so during bullish times, we should be buying altcoins rather than Bitcoin. But this is, again, a misconception. It is not true. Let's have a look at the last year. What we've got over here is total 3. So this is the total cryptocurrency market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So pretty much all the altcoins. They went up by 59% in the last year. During the same time period, Bitcoin went up by 85%. So during bullish times, when the market is expanding, when prices go up, the altcoins in aggregate did not do better than Bitcoin. Shouldn't we expect at least that? Yes, maybe over the cycles, the altcoins get hammered a lot, and thus maybe it doesn't make sense to hold a lot of altcoins all the time. And maybe altcoins rotate, and sometimes altcoin A is outperforming, sometimes altcoin B is outperforming. Yes, this is all understood, but in theory, right, the entire altcoin market, shouldn't it be doing better than Bitcoin during times when people tend to go risk on? I made a very advanced drawing to illustrate my point. Here, have a look at this. So in this very advanced illustration, we see Bitcoin in black, right? So this is the Bitcoin price. It goes up and down. Now we see here, in theory, how altcoins should at least be performing. As in, when the market is going up, then the altcoins here in red, they should go up as well. And then when Bitcoin goes down, then of course also the altcoins should go down as well. And they should go down more than Bitcoin. So this makes sense, but in theory, if we just go flat over the long term in Bitcoin, we should also go flat with the altcoins. Now, ideally, right, why do we buy altcoins? We buy them because they're more risky, they have more volatility, and in theory, more risk long term should also be compensated with more return. So ideally, we want to hold an altcoin that goes like the blue line. Yes, it goes down more when Bitcoin goes down more, but the second low should be higher compared to where we started off. So we take more volatility, but we also take more long-term return. This is how it should be. But in practice, it's not like that. In practice, the altcoins do even worse than Bitcoin. They even appreciate less during bullish times. We don't even see the red line for the altcoins. We had a very nice year, but Bitcoin still did better than the altcoins. And that's, of course, a problem. A second problem is how concentrated the returns in the altcoin market are. Now, this is not unique to altcoins. We can see this in pretty much any other market. We also see this in precious metals. We also see this in stocks. We also see this in property. Most outperformance goes to just a few players. In other words, the average return is better than the median return. The winner takes most. And this is very much true for the altcoin market as well. It's extremely true. Let me show you what I mean. This is a nice representation of the altcoin performance in the last year. It's the crypto bubble chart, probably something you've seen before. And again, altcoins in aggregate made a performance of 59% in the last year. But not all altcoins did, right? Some of them went down by more than 80%, by more than 77%, etc. There are a few outperformance and they push up the average return. The question is, if you pick an altcoin portfolio, if you've got a few altcoins, are you really going to bet solely on the winners? Let's say you've got 10 altcoins. Isn't there a high likelihood that you also have something like Optimism or Aptos or Caspar in that portfolio? Now we can also have a look at this represented in a table. So that's over here. And again, the altcoin market went up quite a bit during that time. But it seems like it's pretty much the middle point of that table where we see the positive versus the negative returns. In other words, half of the tokens roughly performed negatively. The other half performed positively, again, during a time when the market as a whole expanded. Now, let's go back to this awesome illustration here. We take on more risk by buying altcoins. In theory, they should outperform Bitcoin, at least during bull markets. We see that the market as a whole didn't do this, but how many assets actually did better than Bitcoin during that last 12 months? Bitcoin during the time did 85%. Let's have a look at this table, right? The top 100 altcoins. The cutoff is over here. So there is Bitcoin with 85%, and those are the altcoins that did better. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 21 out of 99 altcoins outperformed Bitcoin. All the others, 78, they underperformed. The odds are pretty much 80% that when we pick an altcoin that we're going to do worse than Bitcoin, even during a bull market. During a bear market, it's probably much worse. What that then means is if we've got a diversified portfolio of altcoins, right? When we have got, say, 10 or 20 altcoins, that the likelihood is extremely high that that basket is going to do worse than BTC. Now, again, this wouldn't be a surprise over the long term because there's more altcoins that launch every day and because there's also token dilution, etc. Long term, that wouldn't be too much of a surprise. But even short term, right? Even over a year and even in a bull market, this is true. This is what I think is pretty surprising. It's clearly what most people have wrong, right? Most people think that when we are in an expanding market, when Bitcoin is going up, that most altcoins should do better than Bitcoin. But 4 out of 5 altcoins still, even during periods like this, do worse than BTC. And so there are 2 approaches to crypto, right? We can try to beat the odds, the 20-80% odds. We can try to own those 20% that do better. But instead of fighting against the casino with odds of 20 to 80, maybe it's better to just be in favor of the odds. Why not join the dark side? Why not join the short sellers? Why not bet on altcoins doing worse than Bitcoin? The first approach that most people attempt is to pick those few winners, and unfortunately most of the time this is not playing out. The better approach, I believe, is to expand the time horizon, bet on the long-term trend, and instead of trying to make a 10 or 100x tomorrow with a small amount, it's better to invest larger amounts and keep this running for maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. And after 10 years, we can already have enough to potentially retire. Now, let me show you what I mean with that. Consistent outperformance, consistent alpha is enough to be more than well off. It is not about betting $100 and hoping for this to make 1000x and get lottery tickets. It's more about betting thousands of dollars consistently and outperform the market by shorting altcoins, for example. So what we've got here on the left is just an example. We've got Bitcoin's long-term returns. Let's say that's 30% per annum. I think that's somewhat realistic. And we don't have any alpha. We just buy and hold Bitcoin over the long term. We've got an income of 100K, but this is adjustable, of course. And we've got a savings rate of 15%. This is, I believe, quite possible if you're focused on that goal. What we've got here on the left, this is the number of years, and what we've got here in the middle is the number of yearly incomes that we save over time. So in the first year, we've got 15% of 1 year of the current income of 100K, $15,000. Then the second year, we've got already 1/3 of a yearly income because we save another 15% and we get return on those 15% that we had before. So that's now 35K, and we continue that game further on. And after 14 years, we've got 19 years saved up, or 1.9 million. So that is without any alpha. That's after 14 years. We've got 19 years saved up. Now, why is 19, 20 years such an important number? It's because at that point, we can be very much hands off with our investment. We can just buy some stocks, some property, a little bit of crypto. If we just return 5% very conservatively on our money, we can retire. So there is this 5% retirement rule. If we are risk off, if we don't buy risky stuff, just gold, stocks, property, we very easily achieve those 5%, and thus we don't have to work anymore. We are financially independent. So at 19 years, we get with just 5% return into retirement. So the 20-year mark is pretty much the holy grail. And so it's all about reaching those 20 years early. And of course, this is variable. If you've got an income of only 50K, not 100K, then you will have half the money after those 14 years. But again, you will be at 19 years of income. So it pretty much depends on what kind of lifestyle are you currently living. Are you okay with that lifestyle? If yes, then it's about getting those 15% savings rate. Now, the issue, of course, is that this is 14 years. And this is why everybody wants to get the 100 or 1000x returns. 14 years appears like an eternity, right? Especially for the younger folks. If you're currently 20 years, you can't really imagine how it will be once you're 34. And the second part is, of course, that over that time period, your income is likely going to increase as well. And so then what you're now saving with the low income will not really cover what you want to spend later on. Now, there are a few tricks around this potentially. So let's say you're willing to relocate to the Philippines or to Thailand or to Malaysia, and now your expenses get cut in half or even by 2/3, then you'd reach financial independence already after year 11, roughly. So you're cutting off 3 years of work. But here is what I believe is the main trigger, and this is underappreciated. If you can generate just 25% of alpha, and when you're shorting altcoins like Balancer relative to Bitcoin, then that is incredibly easy, right? Balancer relative to Bitcoin underperformed by 72% even. But let's be conservative. Let's say we only generate 25% of alpha by shorting altcoins. Then we are reaching financial freedom already after 9 years. Not after 14. If we are then willing to relocate and we spend only 1/3 of what we currently spend because things are way cheaper in many Asian countries, then financial freedom already happens after 7 years. So the alpha is super, super important. Of course, we can also play around with the savings rate, and this can cut another 1 or 2 years from this. So then instead of taking 7 years, it might only take 5 years, but that's in the end the playbook. That's how we can get a relatively straightforward plan to not having to work anymore. It's about generating consistent alpha. It's about getting the odds in our favor, not trying to pick the needle in the haystack, but just betting on the haystack doing worse than the good old Bitcoin. And it's about generating an income that gives us a lifestyle that we are satisfied with and that we can still use to save 15 to maybe 25%. And then if we really hate our job, we can even move to a cheaper country, making that job duration even shorter by 1 or 2 more years. So it's income, it's saving, it's generating consistent alpha, and it's moving to somewhere where expenses are the lowest. Those 4 factors all combined bring us financial freedom much, much easier, much, much more predictable, and comparatively quickly, right? 4 to 5 years is quite good. It's way better than 14 years. There's really no need trying to win the lottery. It's not required. We can simply just be consistent for a few years. That's all that it takes. Most altcoins underperform Bitcoin, 80% almost, even during a bullish year. We can make money with that knowledge. The underperformance can be very consistent, like here with Balancer relative to Bitcoin. It can also be slightly less consistent, like here with Optimism relative to Bitcoin. But if you have enough altcoin positions open, right, again, we can potentially diversify the short positions because we don't have to pick the losers. It's pretty much everything is losing. If we are diversified in our short positions, it's fine if we sometimes get a short squeeze because we have enough collateral. The other short positions do okay. And I know this is a massive mindset shift for many people. Many people just want to make it big. They want to hit the home run, but this is not necessarily a sustainable strategy, right? If you once make that hit even, you might try to repeat this again and then lose everything. It's better to expand the time horizon somewhat. That's reasonable. That's not so long that in the end we have to become grandpas and grandmas in order to be financially free, but at least long enough that we can accumulate enough wealth and that the alpha in the end compounds. Now, I have made a lot of tutorial videos on how to bet on falling prices of altcoins relative to Bitcoin, on how to do proper portfolio management across asset classes, on how to reduce risk and how to build wealth over the long term. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total over here. This is in premium. The link is down below. It's thebitcoinstrategy.com. Because a lot of people got hurt with the recent altcoin crash, I've also reduced the monthly rate to just $125 per month. Feel free to watch as many tutorials as you want. Feel free to binge watch it. If you feel that you don't get enough value out of premium, just message me within the first 7 days and I will refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. Looking forward to seeing you again on this channel. Feel free to subscribe in case you haven't yet. Feel free to also give this video a like. It helps the channel grow. So see you on YouTube or see you potentially also in premium. Cheers.